Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to English in Fluency. My name is Alex, and it's wonderful to have you here with me today. Have you ever had one of those days, or maybe one of those weeks, where you feel like you're running on a treadmill? You're moving your feet as fast as you can. You're breathing hard. You're sweating, but you're not actually going anywhere. You look at your to-do list in the morning, and it's long, so long. You work hard all day. You rush from one thing to another. And when you finally sit down at night, exhausted, you realize you've only done half of what you wanted to do. And that long list? It feels even longer now, with new things added to it. It's a frustrating feeling, isn't it? That feeling of being busy all the time, but not productive. You see other people who seem to have it all figured out. They get their work done, they have time for hobbies, they see their friends, and they seem calm. How do they do it? Do they have a secret? Do they have more than 24 hours in a day? The answer is no. They have the same 24 hours that you and I have. The secret isn't about having more time. It's about managing the time you have in a better way. And that, my friends, is exactly what we are going to talk about today. This isn't just a lesson about productivity. It's a lesson about creating a life that feels more balanced, more intentional, and less stressful. And we're going to do it together, improving our English speaking and listening skills along the way. To make these ideas really clear and easy to remember, we're going to follow the story of two people, Liam and Sarah. They are two different people in different situations, but they share the same big problem. They feel like they are losing the battle against the clock. We will follow their journey, see their struggles, and learn from their discoveries. As we go, I'll pause the story to explain the key ideas and give you some simple phrases and questions to practice your own English speaking. So find a comfortable place, relax, and let's begin our journey into the world of time management and find the keys to unlocking a more successful and peaceful life. Let's meet our first character, Liam. Liam is a university student. He's 20 years old, studying graphic design. He's incredibly creative and passionate about his work. When he gets an idea, his mind lights up. He can spend hours lost in a project, experimenting with colors, shapes, and fonts. His professors say he has a lot of talent, but Liam has a problem. His biggest enemy is the deadline. Let's look at a typical Tuesday for Liam. He wakes up around 9 o'clock after hitting the snooze button on his alarm at least 3 times. He knows he has a huge history essay due on Friday. It's worth 30% of his grade. It's important. He feels a little knot of anxiety in his stomach just thinking about it. He tells himself, "Okay, today is the day. I will start the essay today." He makes a coffee, sits down at his desk, and opens his laptop. He stares at the blank document. The cursor blinks, and blinks, and blinks. Right, he thinks, I just need a little inspiration. So, he opens a new tab and goes to a website with cool design portfolios. He tells himself it's for research. An hour passes. He has seen a lot of beautiful designs, but he hasn't written a single word of his essay. Then his phone buzzes. It's a message from his friend, Tom, with a funny video. Liam watches it. Then another one. And another. Suddenly, he's scrolling through social media. He sees photos of his friends on holiday, at parties, having fun. He feels a little bit jealous. A little bit like he's missing out. Before he knows it, it's lunchtime. He hasn't even started his important essay. The anxiety in his stomach gets a little tighter. Okay, after lunch, he promises himself. After lunch, I will be super focused. After a quick lunch, he sits down again. But now he feels a bit tired. Maybe I'll just answer a few emails first, he decides. That's productive, right? He clears out his inbox. Then he remembers he needs to buy a ticket for a concert. He spends 20 minutes online comparing prices. Then he starts tidying his desk. He rearranges his books. He waters his plant. He does everything except write the essay. By late afternoon, panic starts to set in. The sun is going down, and the blank page is still staring at him. He finally forces himself to write a few sentences, but the words don't come easily. He feels stressed and overwhelmed. He ends up working late into the night, fueled by more coffee, just to write 2 or 3 paragraphs. He goes to bed feeling exhausted, disappointed in himself, and even more stressed about the essay than he was in the morning. He was busy all day. But what did he really achieve? Now, let's travel to another part of the city and meet Sarah. Sarah is 28 years old, and she works in marketing. She works from home, which she thought would be a dream come true. No commute, no office distractions, just quiet, productive time. At least, that was the idea. Sarah is a perfectionist. She wants every project to be absolutely perfect, which is a good quality. Sometimes, her reality looks a little different from the dream. Her day starts early, at 7 a.m. She sits at her desk with a hot cup of tea and looks at her calendar. It's full. A team meeting at 10. A client call at 11:30. A report due by the end of the day. 3 different projects that all need her attention. Her email inbox is already overflowing with messages, each one marked with a red exclamation point, a symbol of urgency. She starts with the emails. She believes if she can just clear her inbox, she can finally focus. But answering emails is like fighting a hydra. For every one she deletes, 2 new ones appear. An email from her boss asks for a quick update on the Miller account. She stops what she's doing to gather the information and write a detailed reply. Then, a colleague sends her an instant message with a quick question. That quick question turns into a 30-minute conversation. Before she knows it, it's time for her 10 o'clock meeting. The meeting lasts an hour and a half, even though it was scheduled for 1 hour. After the meeting, she has only 30 minutes before her client call. She uses that time to try and start the big report that's due today. But 30 minutes is not enough time to get into a deep focus task. She just manages to open the document and write a title before her phone rings for the next call. The client call is challenging. The client is unhappy and has a lot of questions. Sarah spends the entire call being patient, taking notes, and promising to solve their problems. After the call, she feels drained, emotionally tired. It's already past 1 o'clock, and she hasn't had lunch. She grabs a quick sandwich and eats it at her desk, trying to work on that report. But her mind is still on the unhappy client. She's also thinking about the new tasks that came from her morning meetings and emails. Her to-do list is growing, not shrinking. Throughout the afternoon, she jumps from task to task. She writes a few sentences for the report, then answers an urgent email, then works on a presentation for another project, then goes back to the report. She feels like a firefighter, constantly putting out small fires, but never making progress on the big, important building she needs to construct. By 6 p.m., the official end of her workday, the report is still not finished. She feels a wave of guilt and stress, so she keeps working. She works until 8 p.m. to finally finish it and send it off. She closes her laptop. Her shoulders are sore, her eyes are tired, and she has no energy left to cook dinner, exercise, or talk to her friends. She just collapses on the sofa to watch TV, feeling completely burnt out. She was productive? Yes. She got a lot done? But at what cost? She feels like her work is controlling her life. So here we have Liam and Sarah. One is a student, the other a professional. One procrastinates, putting off important work. The other is a perfectionist, trying to do everything at once. But both of them end their day feeling the same way, stressed, tired, and feeling like they've failed. They both feel that time is their enemy. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Maybe you see a little of yourself in Liam, easily distracted by more interesting things. Or maybe you are more like Sarah, trying to respond to every request immediately, and feeling overwhelmed by a never-ending list of tasks. Most of us, if we are honest, have a bit of both. This is the first and most important step in learning to manage your time. Recognizing the problem. And the problem is often not that we don't have enough time, but that we don't know where our time actually goes. We think we know, but we are often wrong. Liam thinks he just needs a little inspiration, but in reality, he spends hours on distractions. Sarah thinks she needs to respond to everything immediately to be a good employee, but in reality, she's letting other people's priorities control her entire day. They are both stuck in a cycle, a pattern of behavior that isn't working for them. To break the cycle, they need to see it clearly. They need to become detectives of their own time. This brings us to our very first strategy. It's simple, but it is incredibly powerful. It is called a time audit. An audit is when you check something carefully to see if it is correct. So, a time audit is when you check your time carefully to see where it really goes. It's like looking at your bank statement to see where you spent your money. You might be surprised to find out you spent $50 on coffee last month. A time audit does the same thing, but for your minutes and hours. For just a few days, maybe 3 to 5 days, you write down what you are doing. You can use a simple notebook or an app on your phone. Be honest, if you spend 30 minutes scrolling on social media, write it down. If you spend an hour watching TV, write it down. Write down everything. Working, studying, eating, chatting with friends, staring at a blank page. The goal isn't to judge yourself or feel bad. The goal is simply to collect data, to see the truth of your day. Let's imagine Liam and Sarah decide to do this. For 3 days, they keep a small notebook with them. Every hour or so, they write down what they've been doing. At first, it feels a little strange, but they stick with it. At the end of the 3rd day, they sit down to look at their notes, and what they see is surprising. It's a real eye-opener. Liam looks at his notebook. He sees that on Tuesday, he spent almost 4 hours on his phone, watching videos and scrolling through social media, before he even wrote 1 sentence of his essay. 4 hours! He didn't realize it was that much. He also sees that he spent a lot of time just thinking about starting. He would sit down, open the book, and then get up to get a snack. Or he'd decide to check his email one last time. He labeled this time getting ready to work. But it was really just another form of procrastination. The actual time he spent writing was very small compared to the time he spent avoiding writing. Looking at the data in black and white, he can't lie to himself anymore. His problem isn't a lack of time, it's a lack of focus and a habit of distraction. Sarah reviews her notebook, and she also has a shock. She sees that she spent almost half of her day, 50% of her working hours, just answering emails and messages. She thought of this as work. But was it her most important work? Number. The big report, the task that caused her the most stress and made her work late, received only small blocks of her attention, maybe 20 or 30 minutes at a time, scattered throughout the day. She was constantly switching between tasks. This is called context switching, and it's very inefficient. Every time she stopped working on the report to answer an email, her brain had to change focus. And when she returned to the report, it took her time to remember where she was and get back into the flow. She realized she was letting her inbox be her to-do list. She was reacting all day instead of being proactive and focusing on her own priorities. She saw clearly that her desire to be helpful and responsive to everyone immediately was actually hurting her ability to do her most important work. This is the power of a time audit. It replaces feelings like, "I'm so busy," or "I have no time," with facts. It shows you the truth. Now, I want to give you a small practice task. You don't have to do a full 3-day audit right now, but let's just think about it. I want you to think about your day so far, or yesterday. Try to describe, out loud, 2 or 3 things you spent time on. For example, you could say, "Today, I spent 1 hour commuting to work. Then I spent 2 hours in a meeting. After that, I spent 30 minutes on social media." Just saying it out loud helps you practice your English and also helps you start thinking like a time detective. Go on, give it a try. What did you spend your time on today? Great. This simple act of noticing and speaking is the first step. For Liam and Sarah, seeing the truth in their notebooks was a turning point. They felt a little bit embarrassed, but also hopeful. Because when you can see the problem clearly, you can start to find a solution. They now understood where their time was going. The next logical question was, where should it be going? How can they decide what is truly important? They needed a system to help them make better choices, moment by moment, about what to work on next. This leads us to our second powerful idea: prioritization. After their eye-opening time audit, both Liam and Sarah felt a mix of emotions. They were a bit shocked, but also empowered. For the first time, they weren't just feeling overwhelmed. They had data. They had a map of their time, and now they could decide if they wanted to choose a different path. They knew they were spending time on the wrong things, but a new question emerged. What are the right things? When everything feels important and urgent, how do you choose what to do first? Liam has his big essay, but he also has smaller assignments, emails to his professor, and a group project to think about. Sarah has her big report, but also dozens of emails, client calls, and requests from her team. It all feels like a big, tangled ball of yarn. This is where our second strategy comes in, and it's a fantastic tool for bringing clarity to chaos. It's often called the Eisenhower Matrix, named after the former U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was known for being incredibly productive. But you don't need to remember the name. You just need to remember the two key words: important and urgent. We can separate all of our tasks into 4 different types based on these two words. Let's imagine a big square, divided into 4 smaller boxes. A quadrant. In the top left box, we have tasks that are both important and urgent. These are the things with clear deadlines and serious consequences if you don't do them. They are the crises, the problems, the last-minute demands. For Liam, his essay, the day before it's due, would be in this box. For Sarah, an angry client on the phone who needs an immediate solution is in this box. Or a critical system at work that has suddenly broken. We have to do these tasks now. We often spend a lot of our time in this box, feeling stressed and reactive like a firefighter. Now, let's look at the top right box. These are the tasks that are important but not urgent. This is the magic box. This is where real success and progress happen. These are the activities that help us achieve our long-term goals. For Liam, starting his essay 2 weeks before the deadline is in this box. It's important for his grade, but it's not urgent yet. Other things in this box could be exercising, learning a new skill for his career, planning his future projects, or building strong relationships with his friends and family. For Sarah, this box contains tasks like strategic planning for a big marketing campaign, professional development training, or finding ways to improve the team's workflow. These are the tasks that we know we should do, but we often put them off because they don't have an immediate screaming deadline. Procrastinators like Liam live by avoiding this box. Let's move to the bottom left box. Here we have tasks that are not important, but are urgent. This box is tricky. These tasks feel like they need to be done right now, but when you really think about it, they don't help you reach your goals. For Sarah, many of her emails and instant messages fall into this category. The notification pops up. It feels urgent. But is it truly important? Often, it's something that serves someone else's goals, not hers. It could be an invitation to a meeting that she doesn't really need to attend. For Liam, it might be a friend calling him with a quick question while he's trying to study. The urgency is created by someone else. We often get stuck in this box because we want to be helpful, or we confuse being busy with being effective. Finally, the bottom right box. These are the tasks that are not important and not urgent. This is the box of distractions and time wasters. For Liam, this is clearly the hours he spent scrolling on social media and watching random videos. It's not important for his goals, and it's certainly not urgent. For Sarah, it might be checking the news headlines every 20 minutes, or organizing files on her computer that she doesn't really need. These are the activities we often do to escape from the pressure of the important tasks. They are easy. They provide a little bit of instant pleasure, but they don't move our lives forward. So, we have these 4 boxes. 1. Urgent and important. Do it now. 2. Not urgent but important. Schedule it. 3. Urgent but not important. Delegate or minimize. 4. Not urgent and not important. Eliminate it. The goal of good time management is to spend most of your time in box number 2. The important but not urgent box. When you spend your time there, planning, preparing, and working on your goals, you will find that you have fewer crises and emergencies in box number 1. If Liam starts his essay early, box 2, it never becomes a last-minute panic, box 1. If Sarah schedules time for strategic planning, box 2, She can prevent many client problems before they happen. Box 1. Let's see how this framework helps our characters. Liam takes a piece of paper and draws the 4 boxes. He takes his to-do list and starts placing tasks into the boxes. Essay due Friday. He writes, "Today is Tuesday," so he decides this is important but not urgent. It goes in box 2. Reply to Tom's message about the party. He thinks, that's not important and not urgent. Box 4. Prepare for group project meeting tomorrow. That's important and feels a bit urgent. He puts it at the top of box 2, maybe bordering on box 1. Suddenly, his messy list of things to do starts to have a structure. He sees that his main focus should be the essay and the group project. The other things can wait. Sarah does the same exercise. She realizes that her habit of answering every email immediately means she's spending her whole day in box 3. Urgent, but not important. She is letting other people's urgency dictate her day. She decides to make a change. The big strategic report is her number 1 priority. That is a box 2 task. It's important, and while it has a deadline, she has time to do it well if she focuses. Answering every email as it arrives? That's box 3. A meeting invitation about a project she's not really involved in? Also, box 3. She realizes she needs to protect her time for the important work. Now, it's your turn to practice. I want you to think of 3 tasks you need to do this week. It could be anything: studying English, a task for work, cleaning your apartment, calling your family. Take a moment to think of 3 things. Ready? Now, for each task, I want you to say out loud where it belongs in the matrix. For example, you could say, "Studying English is important, but not urgent. It goes in box 2. Or, "Paying my electricity bill is important and urgent because it's due tomorrow. It goes in box 1. Or, "Watching a new TV series is not important and not urgent. It goes in box 4. This is a great way to practice using the words important and urgent and to start thinking about your own priorities. Go ahead. Try it with your 3 tasks. Excellent. By categorizing your tasks, you are taking control. You are no longer just reacting to a long list. You are making conscious decisions. This is the difference between being busy and being effective. Liam and Sarah now have a new sense of clarity. They not only know where their time is going, they have a system for deciding where it should go. But a system is just a plan. The next step is to turn that plan into action. How do you actually make sure you spend time in that all-important box 2? How do you move from knowing what's important to actually doing it? This requires building a bridge between your priorities and your calendar. And that leads us to our 3rd powerful strategy: proactive planning and scheduling. Having identified their priorities using the Eisenhower matrix, Liam and Sarah felt a sense of relief. The fog of being overwhelmed was starting to clear. They could see the difference between the tasks that shouted the loudest and the tasks that mattered the most. Liam knew he had to focus on his essay. Sarah knew her priority was the strategic report. But a new challenge appeared. It's one thing to know what's important. It's another thing to actually find the time to do it in a busy week. A to-do list, even a prioritized one, can still feel like a mountain you have to climb. Without a real plan, it's easy to look at the most important task, the big one in box 2, and say, "I'll do that later, when I have more time, or when I feel more motivated." This is a common trap, and the way to escape it is to stop just making lists of what to do and start deciding when and where you will do it. This is our third key strategy, which involves two connected ideas: planning your week and a technique called time blocking. Instead of starting each day by looking at a long list and wondering what to do first, you look at your calendar, which already has a plan. This shifts you from being reactive to being proactive. You are no longer a victim of your day. You are the architect of your day. Let's see how this works for Liam. On Sunday evening, he sits down for 15 minutes with a piece of paper or a simple calendar app. He looks at his week. He has classes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. He has his group project meeting on Wednesday afternoon. And he has that big essay due on Friday. Using his prioritized list, he decides to dedicate specific blocks of time to his most important task. He doesn't just say, "I'll work on the essay this week." That's too vague. Instead, he looks at his empty time slots and makes appointments with himself. He decides, on Monday, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., I will work on the essay research. He writes it in his calendar, just like a doctor's appointment. Then he adds another block. On Tuesday, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., I will write the first section of the essay. He continues this process, scheduling 2-hour blocks of focused work on his essay throughout the week. This simple act of scheduling is incredibly powerful for a few reasons. First, it breaks down a big, scary task into small, manageable pieces. Write a 10-page essay sounds terrifying, but work on essay research for 2 hours on Monday sounds achievable. Second, it helps to overcome procrastination. When 10 a.m. on Monday arrives, Liam doesn't have to decide whether to work on the essay or not. The decision is already made. His calendar tells him it's time to work. It removes the friction of starting. He just has to follow the plan. He also makes sure to schedule other things. He blocks out time for his classes, for his group meeting, and importantly, he also blocks out time for lunch, for going to the gym, and for relaxing with his friends on Friday evening. His calendar now reflects a balanced week, where his most important work has a guaranteed place. Now let's look at Sarah. She also adopts this Sunday planning session. She looks at her work calendar for the week ahead. She sees it's already filled with meetings and calls. Her old self would have tried to squeeze her important work into the small gaps between these appointments. But the new Sarah thinks differently. She knows that her deep, focused work on the strategic report requires a significant block of uninterrupted time. So, she decides to be the first one to claim her own time. Before the week gets filled with other people's requests, she blocks out a 3-hour period on Tuesday morning and another on Thursday morning. She marks it on her shared calendar as Busy Deep Work Session. She's not available for meetings during that time. She is treating her most important work with the same respect as a client call. This is a huge mental shift. Instead of giving her leftover time to her priorities, she is giving her best, most energetic time to her priorities. During the rest of the week, she continues to block her time. She schedules a 1-hour block each morning for proactive work, which could be planning or working on other Box 2 tasks. She also decides to stop checking her email constantly. Instead, she schedules 3 specific times a day to process her inbox: once in the morning, once after lunch, and once at the end of the day. This is another form of time blocking. By doing this, she takes back control from her inbox. She is no longer letting every new email interrupt her focus. She is dealing with them on her schedule. Her calendar starts to look less like a random collection of events and more like a deliberate, thoughtful plan for a successful week. It includes meetings and client calls, yes, but it also has protected time for the work that will truly move her career forward. It also has a clear end time each day, and she even blocks out a 1-hour lunch break where she commits to stepping away from her desk. This technique of time blocking can be applied to anything, including your English learning. For example, if your goal is to improve your speaking skills, it's not enough to say, "I will practice speaking this week." A better plan is to time block it. You could say, "On Tuesday and Thursday evening, from 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., I will practice my English speaking." You can decide exactly what you will do. Maybe on Tuesday, you will listen to this podcast and do the speaking prompts. On Thursday, you might practice describing your day to a friend. When you schedule it, it becomes real. It becomes a commitment. So, let's do a little practice with this idea. I want you to imagine your ideal day. If you could plan one day perfectly, what would it look like? Try to describe it out loud, using the idea of time blocking. For example, you could start with, "In my ideal day, I would wake up at 7 a.m. From 7:30 to 8, I would go for a walk. Then, from 9 a.m. until noon, I would do my most important work." Continue the description. What would you schedule? Don't forget to include time for meals, breaks, and fun activities. Describe your perfect balanced day. Take a minute to speak it out loud. Doesn't that feel good? To imagine a day where you are in control, where there is time for everything that is important to you? This is the promise of planning and time blocking. It's about being intentional. Liam and Sarah now have their plans for the week. They feel prepared and confident. They have their prioritized to-do lists and a calendar that shows them exactly when they will work on those priorities. It seems like they have the perfect system. But, as we all know, life is not always perfect. Plans are great, but what happens when life happens? What happens when distractions call, when unexpected problems arise, and when our motivation suddenly disappears? The next part of their journey is about learning to navigate the messy reality of everyday life, and that requires another set of skills. With their weekly plans and beautifully blocked-out calendars, Liam and Sarah started their weeks feeling optimistic and in control. Liam sat down at his desk at 10 a.m. on Monday, just as his calendar instructed, ready to work on his essay research. Sarah closed her email tab on Tuesday morning, ready to begin her protected 3-hour deep work session on the strategic report. They had a plan. They knew what to do. But executing a plan is often harder than making one. The real world is full of distractions and interruptions that can easily pull us off track. Let's go back to Liam. He starts his research. He's finding some interesting articles. But after about 20 minutes, his phone, which is on the desk beside him, buzzes. It's a notification from his favorite social media app. He thinks, "I'll just take a quick 2-minute look. Just a quick break." He picks up the phone. He sees a post from a friend. He comments on it. Then he sees an interesting news article. He clicks on it. Then a related article. Before he knows it, he looks at the clock, and 30 minutes have vanished. 30 minutes of his precious, scheduled research time are gone forever. He feels a familiar pang of guilt and puts the phone down, but now his focus is broken. It takes him another 10 minutes to get his mind back into his research. The 2-hour block he scheduled is now much less effective. Meanwhile, Sarah is facing a different kind of challenge. She is an hour into her deep work session. She's in a state of flow, ideas are coming together for the report, and she's making real progress. Then, an instant message notification pops up on her screen from her manager. It says, "Hi Sarah, do you have a quick minute? I need the latest sales numbers for the Miller account ASAP for a meeting I'm in." Sarah's heart sinks. This is her boss. The message says ASAP, which means as soon as possible. It feels incredibly urgent. Her plan was to ignore messages during her deep work block. But this is her manager. She doesn't want to seem unhelpful or slow. So, she abandons her report, spends the next 45 minutes digging up the numbers, putting them into a spreadsheet, and sending them over. By the time she's done, her state of flow is completely gone. Her brain is now thinking about the Miller account, not her strategic report. She tries to get back to it, but her momentum is lost. The rest of her protected time is spent just trying to remember her great ideas from before the interruption. Both Liam and Sarah have hit a wall. It's the wall of distraction and interruption. This is where many people give up on time management. They say, "See? It doesn't work. My day is too unpredictable." But the solution isn't to give up on planning. The solution is to have strategies in place to protect your plan. This brings us to our fourth key idea: managing distractions and staying focused. The first step is to recognize that our brains are not designed for multitasking. When we think we are multitasking, we are actually just switching between tasks very quickly, which, as we saw with Sarah, is inefficient and tiring. To do our best work, especially on important Box 2 tasks, we need periods of deep, uninterrupted focus. So, how do we create that? One of the most famous and effective techniques is called the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro is the Italian word for tomato. The technique was invented by a university student who used a kitchen timer shaped like a tomato to manage his study time. It is very simple. You choose one task to work on. You set a timer for 25 minutes. During those 25 minutes, you work on that one task and nothing else. No checking email, no looking at your phone, no getting up for a snack. You are completely focused. When the timer rings after 25 minutes, you put a check mark on a piece of paper and you take a short break, about 5 minutes. During this break, you must actually take a break. Get up, stretch, get a glass of water, look out the window. Do not check your email or do any other work. After the short break, you set the timer for another 25-minute session of focus. After 4 Pomodoros, or 4 25-minute sessions, you take a longer break, maybe 15 to 30 minutes. This technique is brilliant for several reasons. For a procrastinator like Liam, 25 minutes feels much less scary than a 2-hour block. He can tell himself, anyone can focus on something for just 25 minutes. It helps him get started. It also retrains his brain to focus for a specific period. The short, regular breaks prevent burnout and help to keep his mind fresh. For someone like Sarah, it provides a clear structure for her work blocks. It also gives her a system for handling interruptions. If her manager messages her during a Pomodoro session, she can decide if it's a true emergency. If not, She can finish her 25 minutes and then respond. So, Liam decides to try it. He turns his phone off completely and puts it in another room. This is a crucial step, creating a distraction-free environment. He sets a timer for 25 minutes and starts his research. When his mind wanders, which it does, he gently brings his attention back to the task, knowing the break is coming soon. The timer rings. He takes a 5-minute break. He feels a small sense of accomplishment. He does it again. And again. In 2 hours, he has completed 4 Pomodoros, taken 3 short breaks, and made more progress than he did in the entire previous day. Sarah also adapts her approach. During her scheduled deep work blocks, she closes her email and instant messaging applications. She puts a status message up that says, "In deep focus mode, will respond after 11 a.m." This communicates her boundaries to her colleagues. When she gets an urgent request, she quickly uses the Eisenhower matrix in her head. Is this truly urgent and important? Or is it just someone else's urgency? She learns to politely say, "I'm in the middle of a priority task right now. Can I get that to you in an hour?" Most of the time, people are fine with that. She learns that not every urgent request is a true emergency. Now it's time for a little speaking practice for you. Distractions are a universal problem. I want you to think about your own life. What is your biggest distraction when you are trying to work or study? Is it your phone? Is it people around you? Is it your own thoughts? Try to describe your biggest distraction out loud. You could say, "My biggest distraction is my phone. The notifications always break my concentration." Or, "When I study at home, my family often interrupts me." Take a moment to identify and describe your main distraction. Good. Recognizing your enemy is the first step to defeating it. Now think about one small thing you could do to manage that distraction, based on what we've just discussed. Could you turn your phone off? Could you close the door? Could you try the Pomodoro technique? Say it out loud. To manage my phone distraction, I will put it in another room when I study. Try to make a simple plan. By doing this, you are creating a strategy. You are no longer just a victim of your distractions. You are actively fighting back. For Liam and Sarah, learning to manage their focus was the missing piece of the puzzle. They had their priorities and their plans, and now they had a method for protecting those plans in the real world. They started to build momentum. Day by day, Pomodoro by Pomodoro, they were making real, tangible progress on their most important goals. They started to feel a new sense of accomplishment and control. But as they got better at managing their work, a new, more subtle question started to appear. Is success only about getting more work done? What about the rest of life? Their journey was not over yet. They still had to learn the most important lesson of all: the art of balance. As Liam and Sarah continued to practice these new techniques, something remarkable began to happen. Liam, using his prioritization matrix and the Pomodoro technique, finished his history essay 2 days before the deadline. He had never done that before. He had time to read it over, make improvements, and submit it with confidence. He felt proud. He felt calm. The constant, low-level anxiety that used to follow him around had started to fade. Sarah, by blocking her time and protecting her focus, was not only finishing her big projects on time, but the quality of her work improved. She was more creative, more strategic. Her manager noticed. She even started finishing her workday on time. No more late nights fueled by guilt and stress. She closed her laptop at 6 p.m. and had her evenings free. They had found the keys to productivity. They were getting the right things done, efficiently. But this new efficiency created a new kind of space in their lives. They had extra time. And at first, they weren't sure what to do with it. Their old habit was to fill every empty moment with more work or with mindless distraction. The idea of having free time and consciously choosing how to use it for rest and enjoyment felt strange. This is a very common experience. We can become so focused on managing our work time that we forget that time management is really about managing our lifetime. Success is not just about a finished to-do list. It's about living a full, well-rounded life. This brings us to our fifth and final strategy: the crucial importance of scheduling rest and rejuvenation. A car cannot run without fuel, and a human cannot run without rest. Burnout is a real danger when we pursue success. It happens when we push ourselves too hard for too long, without taking time to recharge our batteries. Effective people are not the ones who work the most hours. They are the ones who know how to balance periods of intense focus with periods of genuine disconnection and rest. Let's look at Sarah. For the first time in years, she had her evenings free. At first, she felt a little guilty. Shouldn't she be checking her email one last time? Shouldn't she get a head start on tomorrow's work? But she remembered her time audit, and how working late into the night had left her feeling drained and miserable. So, she decided to be as intentional with her personal time as she was with her work time. She had always wanted to learn to play the guitar, so she used her time-blocking technique for her personal life. She scheduled a 30-minute guitar practice session every Tuesday and Thursday evening. She also scheduled a weekly yoga class to help her relax and de-stress. On Friday nights, she made a standing date with her friends. She put these things in her calendar with the same seriousness as a work meeting. This sent a powerful message to her brain. My well-being is a priority. My hobbies are a priority. My relationships are a priority. Liam had a similar realization. After submitting his essay early, he had a whole free afternoon. His first instinct was to just scroll on his phone or watch TV. But he realized that these box 4 activities didn't actually make him feel rested or happy. They just made him feel numb. He thought about what truly gave him energy. He loved being creative, not just for his university work, but for fun. So, he decided to start a personal art project, a series of drawings with no deadline and no grade, just for his own enjoyment. He also realized he missed spending quality time outdoors. So he started scheduling a long walk in a nearby park every weekend, without his phone. This was his time to disconnect, to think, or to not think at all. It was time for his mind to rest and wander. What both Liam and Sarah discovered is that scheduling leisure and rest is not a luxury. It is an essential part of a productive life. When you are well rested, your brain works better. You are more creative. You can solve problems more easily. And you can focus more intensely during your work periods. Rest isn't the opposite of work. It's the partner of work. They need each other. This also involves learning to set boundaries. For Sarah, this meant not checking her work email on the weekends. At first, this felt scary. What if there was an emergency? But she realized that most things could wait until Monday. She created a clear separation between her work life and her personal life. This boundary was crucial for preventing burnout. It also means learning to say no. As Sarah became known for being efficient and helpful, she got more and more requests. People wanted her to join new projects, attend extra meetings, and help with their tasks. Her old self would have said yes to everything, trying to please everyone. But the new Sarah understood that every yes to one thing is a no to something else. If she said yes to an unnecessary meeting, she was saying no to an hour of focused work on her own priorities. She learned to politely decline requests that didn't align with her goals. She would say things like, "Thank you for thinking of me, but my plate is full right now, and I can't give that the attention it deserves." Saying no can be difficult, but it's one of the most powerful time management tools you have. So, let's have our final practice for today. I want you to think about rejuvenation. What is one activity that makes you feel genuinely rested and happy? It's not about what you think you should do, like going to the gym if you hate it. It's about what truly recharges you. Is it reading a book, listening to music, talking to a friend, spending time in nature, cooking a nice meal? Think of one thing. Now, I want you to describe that activity out loud and explain why it makes you feel good. For example, an activity that recharges me is walking in the forest. It makes me feel good because it's quiet and I can clear my head. Take a moment to describe your rejuvenation activity. Wonderful. Now, the next step is to make a commitment. When will you do this activity this week? Try to schedule it, just like we practiced with time blocking. You can say it out loud. This Saturday morning, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., I will go for a walk in the forest. By giving your rest a specific time and place, you are making it a priority. You are taking care of your most important asset. You. Liam and Sarah's journey has brought them to this beautiful realization. Time management is not about squeezing every last drop of productivity out of every single minute. It's about creating a life by design, not by default. It's about making conscious choices that honor your goals, your health, and your happiness. It's about creating space for deep, focused work and also creating space for deep, joyful rest. They are no longer running on a treadmill. They are walking on a path they have chosen, at a pace that feels right for them. Let's fast forward a few months. It's another Tuesday morning for Liam. He still has deadlines and big projects, but his morning looks very different now. He wakes up without hitting the snooze button because he's getting enough sleep. He knows exactly what his most important task for the day is because he planned it on Sunday. He sits down at his desk, puts his phone in another room, sets his Pomodoro timer for 25 minutes, and begins. He works in focused bursts and takes real breaks in between. He finishes his planned work for the day by the late afternoon, with enough time to work on his personal art project, feeling energized and creative. He no longer sees time as an enemy to be fought, but as a resource to be used wisely. In her home office, Sarah is also having a very different kind of Tuesday. Her calendar is still busy, but it's a balanced busy. It has meetings, yes, but it also has protected blocks for deep work. When a colleague sends her a quick question, she finishes her Pomodoro session before responding. She ends her workday at 6 p.m., feeling a sense of accomplishment, not exhaustion. She closes her laptop and is genuinely finished with work. She picks up her guitar and spends 30 minutes learning a new song, her mind a million miles away from marketing reports and client emails. She is no longer just reacting to the demands of her job. She is proactively designing a life where her career and her personal well-being can both flourish. They aren't perfect. Some days are still chaotic. Sometimes they get distracted, or an unexpected crisis throws their plan out the window. But the difference is that now they have the tools and the mindset to get back on track. They understand that time management is not a rigid set of rules, but a flexible system that helps them make better choices. They have learned that the goal is not perfection, but progress. Their journey shows us the incredible transformation that is possible when we stop letting time manage us and start managing our time. Let's quickly review the path they took, the 5 key strategies that we have discussed together today. First, they started with awareness. They did a time audit to honestly see where their time was going. They stopped guessing and started dealing with facts. This was the essential first step of admitting that their old habits were not working. Second, they learned prioritization. Using the simple but powerful Eisenhower matrix, they learned to distinguish between what was urgent and what was truly important. This gave them clarity and allowed them to focus their energy on the tasks that would bring them closer to their long-term goals, the famous Box 2 tasks. Third, they embraced proactive planning. They moved from a reactive to-do list to a proactive calendar. By using time blocking and scheduling their priorities, including their English practice, they made appointments with their success and ensured that their most important work always had a place in their week. Fourth, they mastered focused execution. They learned to battle the enemies of productivity, distraction, and interruption. By creating a focused environment and using techniques like the Pomodoro method, they were able to get into a state of deep work and make significant progress in short, intense bursts. And finally, fifth, they discovered the importance of balance and rejuvenation. They realized that true success isn't just about professional achievement. They began to schedule rest, hobbies, and time with loved ones with the same intention as their work, understanding that taking care of themselves was essential for long-term performance and happiness. These 5 steps represent a complete system for taking control of your time and, ultimately, your life. It's a journey from feeling overwhelmed and stressed to feeling calm, focused, and in control. It's a journey that Liam and Sarah took, and it's a journey that is available to you, too. You don't have to implement all of these strategies at once. That would be overwhelming. The best way to start is to choose just one. Which of these ideas resonated with you the most today? Was it the idea of a time audit? Are you curious to see where your time really goes? Or maybe it was the Eisenhower matrix. Do you feel like you need more clarity on your priorities? Perhaps it's the Pomodoro technique. Are you struggling with distractions and feel that 25 minutes of focused work is something you could try? Or maybe it's the idea of scheduling rest. Are you feeling close to burnout and realize you need to make your well-being a priority? Whatever it is, I encourage you to pick just one thing to try this week. Don't aim for perfection. Just aim for a small change. A small change, practiced consistently, can lead to huge results over time. Remember, the goal is not to become a productivity machine. The goal is to create a life that feels more intentional, more balanced, and more joyful. It's about having enough time for the work that matters and for the people and activities that you love. Thank you so much for joining me today at English in Fluency and for following the story of Liam and Sarah. I hope their journey has inspired you and given you some practical tools you can start using right away. Learning to manage your time is a skill, just like learning a language. It takes practice, patience, and kindness towards yourself. And now, I have a question for you. Which one of these 5 strategies are you going to try this week? Please share your answer in the comments below. I would love to hear from you, and sharing your commitment can be a powerful motivator. It's also a fantastic way to practice your English writing skills. And if you found this podcast helpful, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us to create more content like this for you. Share it with a friend who might also be feeling overwhelmed and wants to learn English in a practical, story-based way. Until next time, my name is Alex. Take care, be intentional with your time, and keep practicing. Goodbye for now.